Hello, and welcome to today's video. In today's video, guys, I'm going to be running you through the process of how to create an event on your clubs and societies homepage. The reason we do this, there's several in fact, is that it more or less provides a conduit for you guys to get your event out to all your members and anyone else you're looking to attract to your event. Also, it allows the one point for all the information for the event to be captured and recorded. And then finally, and most importantly, it allows us to ensure that you guys are protected in terms of mitigating risks and liability. So for instance, if you guys fail to do this process in that create an event through our system and you aren't approved and still run an event anyway, you will actually be held legally liable for anything that goes wrong during that event. Whereas by following this risk process we have in here, you're actually protected. And obviously any event held under your banner, you guys are obviously accountable for that as well. So that's just more or less the reason as to why we have this in place. And so from there, the first place we want to go is just to the Clubs and Societies homepage. Just that one there. And so you'll see we're just at the top, straight down to the administration. And then once we're in there, we come straight over to our club's homepage. So for today's video, I'm going to be doing it from the Sydney Campus Club and Alumni page. And from there, we just go straight over to the events tab there at the top. And from there, your first thing you'll notice is actually all the previous events held by that club. If you're a new executive of a club, this can actually be really helpful for you, because what you can do is actually go into each of these individual events and see the other details that have been entered before, such as risk assessments, which we'll talk about a bit later. And so from there, the first thing we're going to need to do is then simply create an event. And then from there, it's going to bring you up to this page. So the first thing you're going to need to know about your event is obviously the title of the event. So in this case, it's going to be test event number 2. And then from there, the next thing you can do is the navigation label. I generally like to leave these blank. However, some people like to get a bit creative with the navigation labels, simply because they're what actually go at the end of the web address for the page. And then once you've entered that in, you can then just select the date of your event. So for this event that I'm going to be planning, test event 2, it's going to be held on the 1st of December at midday. Now, don't fret too much about these specific times, because obviously, depending on the event, times can change. But it's really important that you give us a framework to work with so we know exactly what's going to be happening on the day. And so from there, we go to the finish time. So for me, it's going to be 12 to 2 p.m. Now, once you've got these times locked in, they are locked in. So once we've got that, we then move on to the contact name. So this is going to be the person running the event on the day, and then their email as well. So once we have that, I'm just going to put in the Uni Centre email. And then a mobile number. Following all that, we actually have then the content text box. So this box here allows you to put in all the information that you want to have seen by people coming to your event, whether it be the time of the event, the date of the event, what to wear, what to bring, etc. With that, you can do things like add photos and links to other pages as well. And then once that's done, we just then simply hit add. Once we hit add, it then resets it, so it's more or less confirmed within this system. It isn't approved, but it's confirmed, so the system knows to begin looking for other things. So the thing there, it's obviously attach an image, so it now lets me attach an image. Once we've done that, we then hit save. And then we move on. So once that tab's done with the main, we then move on to the address. Now the address here is actually really useful in that once you enter the venue of where you're going, it'll actually put in a Google Maps image in the right-hand side of the screen when you're doing it on your live page, which is really helpful for anyone coming who isn't actually a university student. Whoop, double O. And then once that's done, we simply hit save again. and then we move on to the cost and registration tab. Now, depending on the type of event you have, you might not have a capped limit because it could simply be a barbecue being held on campus, or it could be something a bit more substantial and significant in terms of registering, such as an end-of-year social where you're at a venue with a fixed number of spaces. So all these sorts of things can impact this particular process. So what we've got up here is requires registration for the event and allow non-members or expired members to register for this event as well. So the first thing we're going to do once we've ticked those boxes, and also if it requires payment as well, is the add the ticket type. So you'll see here the ticket title. So let's just simply say ticket for Sydney. And then once there, we have a price. Obviously, keep in mind with the price as well, it will impact some people's ability to actually attend your event. So obviously keep that as low as possible. And then once we have that, we have the ability to set a maximum quantity for tickets. So for instance, if you've got an event where you can only have 100 people, the system gives you the ability to put a limit to that. And on top of that, actually remove it from the site once it's hit that limit. And then once that's done, we hit save. And then we hit close. From there, the next thing we're going to do is once again save it, because we like to just keep it saved within the system. And then from there we go straight on to the other details. Now, what the other details is really useful for is it kind of gives you that structured framework, you know, how am I going to plan this event? So the first thing you want to think about with an event is its purpose. What's its goals, aims, objectives, etc. And then once we've got all those entered in the system, we've got how are we going to cater for the event? Will there be any alcohol? Are we selling tickets? Will there be any security? And in addition, how many we expect to attend? And then also the advertising method. So with all this sort of stuff, you've got Facebook, club's newsletter, what's on email. If you have any questions about it, please feel free to email us. I'll put a link into below for you guys to do that. Also, just notice as well, we've got this other. Recently, we've got the My UOW app as well. So if you would like to have anything published on the app, which is on everyone's smartphones, please feel free to send us an email with all the details. And we're more than happy to publish that for you. So also note here, will there be any security? Just keep in mind as well, depending on how many you have in an event, if you go over a certain number, we will actually require security to be there, and also the time of day as well. And then so the greatest thing about this system that's really important for you guys in terms of mitigating the risk is that risk assessment, as I mentioned before. So what you've got here is an ability to drop it in and attach the file. Now, I'll also put a link under this video for you guys to go directly to our template that we hand out. Now, just generally, the template's really easy to understand once you get your hands on it, so don't be too fret if you don't know what I mean at this point. Basically, you're going to be given a matrix that'll outline the potential impacts of a risk versus its likelihood at the occurring during the event. So once you've got that information, you're then able to validate how much of a risk it is to your event and then put in place any sort of things to mitigate that risk. And then once that's done, we've got the ability to add additional information. Now, note here as well, it says funding, there are no funding applications recorded for this event. That's entirely normal. The thing is, with funding applications for events, you actually have to apply and put in the event like we're doing now before you can actually get any funding for it. And so once that's all done, we just hit save again to go through. And then don't fret, we've only got 2 tabs to go. So the first of those being the results. So once you've created your event, you've had it, what we need you to do then is come back in here and tell us how many attended and also what the results were. Now, this is a compulsory part because it's more or less required for us to then gauge how successful the event was, which then helps inform us for providing funding for your future events. Now, once that's done, notice with the results here, it's a text box, so give as much detail as you possibly can. In particular, it's really helpful for clubs that are trying to have an event happen year on year, and it's really helpful for any future executives for you guys to pass on what worked and what didn't, and anything that you would suggest could have helped in the future. You can use this more or less as a time capsule to encapsulate all the things that you wish that you did first but didn't have a chance to. And then, so once all that information, again, we save, and then the final tab I'll take you to here is just the reoccurring events. So because of the site system and the demands of varying clubs, this system was recently added that allows you guys to have an event in this system occur frequently, which saves you having to enter it multiple times. So if you want to have it as a reoccurring event, simply tick this box, say how many times you're going to have it. In this case, I'll say 10, and how often you're going to have it. So you could have this event weekly, fortnightly, monthly, annually, or even do a custom draw. The custom is really helpful if, for instance, based on timetable availability, you need to change it up every so often. And I just keep that in mind when you're doing it. And so it's really handy just because it streamlines the process for you, so you don't have to do it over and over again. And then so once that's done, we simply hit save. And then that should save for us. Yep, so that's all saved there. Now what you've got up here, you can actually have a look at the draft site, what it will look like once the event's published. And so you'll see here, we've got the time that I put in, the name of the event, which was $5, the date the event was going to take place, and then we've got here the map that I was talking to you about before. So that's what it will all look like, and obviously as well, any information we had regarding the event would go under here with the title just there. And so we don't need that because it's still in the draft stage. We simply request publication, and we can add any comments here. Because this is a test, I'll just put this as a test, so to remind myself. And then there you are. So that'll go through, and we're all good to go. So thanks for listening, guys. If you do have any questions, feel free to email them into the email below. And until next time, thank you very much. See ya.